Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. Today we are going to continue working on our 101. I swear to God this one is 101.16 and in this video we're going to do some encasement. A very simple beginning encasement. So if you have never done any encasing, this is a good video to watch because there's always little tips and tricks that help your encasing to not smear what's underneath. Thanks for watching, you guys. Thanks for sticking with us, and I appreciate everybody that watches. I hope you get something out of this. Let's get to it, and we'll see you next time. All right, and the colors I'm going to use today are different shades of blue. That one on the far end is called the inky blue or an ink blue. It's really a beautiful color, so I'm going to start with that one. But before I start that, I've already made stringers. Don't worry, you won't have to see me make a stringer in this one. I'm just going to start the white bead because everything is going to be transparent and I want to be able to see it. So we're going to start out with a small white bead. And I'll just let you know ahead of time that you want to try to make this bead as small as you can because it gets very, very large after you're finished. I'm going to try to keep it on the small side. Now I want you to get a really, really good look at how I encase this white with this transparent color here. I start on one end and I give it a little wiggle in the flame. Notice that the only thing in my flame is the glass. The bead is not in the flame and I'm wiggling it. And then I'm gonna kind of like jump over to the side and get into the next line. But I am also, as I'm wiggling and turning the glass, I'm also covering, making sure that I cover the other side of the glass as well. And if I need to, what I did over here was I just added, this is the other side, I added a nice big ring of a wrap of color. And then what happens here is kind of interesting. I say sometimes that the glass wants to go where it's hottest, and this is a perfect example because the way that I am getting the violet to go all the way down to the center bead hole is to heat it on that side of the bead hole and then take it to the other side and really heat that part, and that glass will slowly start to pull into the center of the bead. Now we're just going to start a whole series of dots. It's always good to play with dots all the time. I'm always playing with dots, and the more you play with dots, the better you get at putting dots on. And here we have myself very gently adding this white on here. I'm in the flame, I get the amount that I need, I lift up into the flame, but you notice that my bead is not in the flame at all this whole time. I'm just adding these dots and hoping that they all fit around the equator because I didn't really think about that earlier, like how many dots I was going to have on this. I just went for it. And then a nice even reheat. Remember, heating very evenly is going to melt your pattern down evenly every time. So you want to heat the sides, the front, everything so it all heats up at once. And let's take that little nib off the end of that because we don't want to lay down anything that's too bubbly. And we'll start with our next row of dots. And this is the next shade of the darkest blue. Or would that be the lighter of the darker blue? We just put the dark blue down. Nevertheless, let's move on because what I'm doing here is I'm gently pushing down. I'm heating each one of these dots up individually and I'm pressing it down with the knife. And that allows me to push that color completely over the white dot underneath. That's what I'm the effect that I'm going for. If I was just to heat it up, the white would, you would see a large ring of white around the color and not the color over the white. So you want to make sure that your color is completely over the white. Okay, more dots. This is such a fun bead, especially when you're using transparent. And you don't necessarily have to use transparency with this bead, but it gives it a great, kind of this weird three-dimensional optical effect. Especially if you add like an extra dot of clear or something like that on top of it, on top of each, you know, a whole extra dot, which would again make this thing humongous. So we're trying to keep these dots small. So I'm just going back and forth from a white dot to a transparent dot to a white dot to a transparent dot. And that's what's going to give me that kind of three-dimensional look where the color is sitting gently on like a clear, you see that clear in between the two colors basically, because it's transparent. I don't know if I even understand what I said myself, but there you have it. Heating on both sides is also important for even heating and keeping the core of the bead hot. Not necessarily the core, but the edges. Let's just put it like that. All right, it's time to cool this down. And we're gonna yet add our final row of dots. Now notice that I'm using a stringer here, and I'm just barely lifting up into the flame, grabbing the amount that I need and laying it down, bringing it back up into the flame and just pulling the white as I go. And I'm tugging on the white, so as soon as I feel the white come off of the bead, then you know you're ready for the next one. But you don't always have to use a stringer. On top of this little stringer, I'm using a regular size rod, and the main reason is because I want to completely cover the white dot underneath. You'll get a whole different effect if you don't cover the whole dot or if you do cover the whole dot underneath. It looks great either way. Yeah, it's getting big. Okay. And this is why I asked you to pay attention to how I applied that very first color onto the white, because exactly the same way, it's just a little larger. Unfortunately, I'm trying different camera angles, and this was a horrible camera angle for me to even attempt to show you anything worthy of encasement or the process. So excuse me for this just horrible piece of footage here, but I am just twisting and turning and twisting and turning and overlapping as I go. And it does take time, but don't worry, because you're laying down hot glass, so it's insulating the bead. And now you notice that I have this big gap. Well, I'm not going to heat it down like I would with my first color. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab it with my tungsten pick, and I'm going to heat the edge until it's all soft, like a big soft donut all around. And then I'll get really close to my flame and just heat the clear and pull it down with the cool tungsten pick. Okay? Never put the pick in the flame unless you're trying to do something else. But in this instance, the pick never goes in the flame. And then you just pull all that glass all the way to the very edge. And if you don't dig real deep, if you just gently tug at it, it will not mess up the pattern beneath. And this one's much smaller, and I was able to just pinch all that in as well. It's really good to know how to do that. And the rest is all about heating, that even heating, and seeing that amazing shell of clear over this bead I thought was so cool. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. This bead really came out pretty cool. I mean, I'm kind of impressed with myself. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you next time on another episode.